it was weird. At Bass Pro Shop a long time ago, they had this demo where they brought in this medical robot. Do you remember that meme of like they did surgery on a grape? Remember that? Where that tiny little tweezer robot was like peeling off the skin of the grape. So they had that robot at Bass Pro Shop where you could do a demo of it. Like you could actually operate it. And it was so cool because you stuck your fingers into these little holes. So the pinchers of the robot were your pinchers of your finger. So the way that you would move in real space was how it would pinch. And you had like these goggles on so you could see in 3D. And I was able to pinch, like there was literally a tiny little block of like sand, like about like 2 inches wide by 2 inches wide. And I was picking up these tiny little objects and moving them in this tiny sandbox. But it felt like I was like picking up an object that was like the size of my fingers, but like the tweezers. So it's crazy because they were telling me, they were like, this is crazy because not only can a surgeon have way more precision, because it also can stabilize if you have like shaky hands and things like that.
Yeah, it probably has like a low sensitivity. So
exactly.
It's like,
but you can precisely do very microscopic movements, whereas if you're using your hand would be a little bit shaky at that tiny of a depth. But also, a surgeon can do a remote surgery because it's in a machine. So if you just have the little clips, you can literally put on like VR goggles, essentially, put your hands in the little thing and do surgery on someone in another country. Like in real time. Like that type of shit is like nuts.
The internet is amazing.
And I remember doing that as a kid. So I'm sure that type of technology has evolved so much.
I remember my uncle actually, he like went on some news story about like performing surgery with a robot.
Yeah. Like literally. And it makes total sense. Cause I mean, if you're trying to do something very precision and like you're literally a millimeter off, you could like damage someone's, spinal cord or some shit. I don't know. Like using a precision machine like makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I think you can make the scales smaller. So it's like, let's say a foot in our world is a centimeter in the surgery world. So it's like, let me just go ahead and grab that muscle, and it's going.
Exactly.
Like it's really, really small.
It's nuts.
You could scale it or whatever.
Exactly. And
you can make it a 16th or 32nd or 64th or whatever.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, that type of stuff is like insane too. But yeah, I guess it's just so weird to think about where our future is going. Because on one hand, I'm like really excited for the future because I think a lot of this technology is going to be like so helpful and so inspirational. And even I know, like for example, there's VR experiences that you can do that are like empathy type things where like you get to experience what it's like to be homeless, or you get to experience what it's like to live in a third world country because it takes you on a tour and it shows you your friends and you're like, that type of stuff is crazy because I can definitely say for a fact VR makes you feel very real feelings. Like you go up on the skyscraper experience and you stand over the edge of a skyscraper, you start to get panicky and sweaty and scared, and you're literally just in your living room. Like literally there's nothing to be afraid of, but everything about your senses is telling you fucking run away. Like fight or flight.
But that's what your eyes just input and translate to your brain, and your brain is dumb. Like your brain is smart, but your brain is dumb. It doesn't know the difference. That's the same reason why I can sit in my wheelchair, put on the VR goggles, and then get nauseous because I went on a virtual roller coaster. Because I'm like, oh, but like my brain doesn't know any better. Like I start starting sweating and panicking and shaking, even though I'm sitting still.
Here's the question then. This is kind of like hippy dippy type of stuff, but like for example, my friend was talking to me one time about like teleportation or like going to like another dimension or something. And he's like, what if, for example, we were talking about if there was like like people always talk about once we invent that type of thing, it'll be like a machine that you like step into and you're able to like teleport, right? But what if that machine was like a chemical or a drug that you ingest and it tricks your brain into thinking that it's somewhere else, or like,
well, VR could do that because it's
and that's
sight,
what I'm saying.
It's sight and sound.
It could be feel and it could be tactile.
You just have to figure out the.
But the thing.
Think about this. Imagine wearing a haptic response suit.
They have that.
Like
it's expensive as fuck because it's just concept. But there are like imagine a fake tendon that runs up your glove. and puts tension or not tension. So as
Depending on
soon
what
as
you grab or not
soon
grab.
as you grab something, then the tendon in the finger gets tight once it reaches an object that it's supposed to grab, and it gives you a vibration response of like grabbing something, like real taptic and haptic feedback that are like legit, and you're on an omnidirectional treadmill that makes you feel weightless and you can run for
The
miles.
future is
and-
exciting and terrifying at the same time.
Exactly, but what I'm saying is, what if like what constitutes? I don't know if this is too crazy, but like what constitutes like reality? Because if I'm on that building
Perception.
and it feels
Perception is reality. It's what you perceive. And
Like if you're like, do you mean like if you're constantly saying like this is not real sort of thing?
I guess so intrinsically, like as far as like humans and what we value, will VR or some sort of experience have the same value? Like, for example, if I went all the way to the Great Wall of China and I stood on the Great Wall of China and I go, holy crap, this is crazy. I'm getting to experience in real life what it's like to be at the Great Wall of China, and I'm here in China. Is that intrinsically any like more valuable than a hyper realistic VR experience of standing on the Great Wall of China, even though you're not in China?
Well, Louis was telling us that he did a VR experience where he saw the Aurora Borealis in the Northern Lights, and he said that he felt a sense of awe. He goes, I literally laid on my back and looked up at the sky in my living room, but I experienced the same feeling that
seeing it in real life.
Seeing it in real life. He goes, it wasn't exactly the same, but it was very close.
And that's how I've definitely felt about a lot of things. Like,
I feel like that's kind of a negative thing though.
yeah,
Can be.
but do you think like, okay, so for example, this is something that's really interesting. So for a while, Google Cardboard was doing, they might still do this. They have a classroom things that you can buy. So you buy a set of these Google Cardboards for the classroom. So everyone in the class gets to put on a headset and look around and experience
what was that school bus?
what it's like.
That
Magic School Bus.
Thank you. Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
Magic School Bus. Like, you know, everyone in the class gets to
All
experience.
right, we're gonna go into the bowels of the intestines.
Instead of looking through your book and like learning about this type
Go
of stuff, you
experience it.
literally the whole class can go into VR and look around. Like that is, those kids probably would get so much more value out of that, and they'd go home and be so excited and be like, "Mom, I got to go inside of the small intestine today. Like that was so cool. That was so crazy."
We got
And,
attacked by germs. We learned about probiotics.
and because all of your senses are being, activated by that, I'm sure that implants way more information in your brain. Like you have a memory of
Well,
it
even-
versus just trying to
well, think
memorize
about,
facts.
like, training.
It's called immersion. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's immersion.
Like if you were to think about training, like let's say you were training to be a pilot and you've never actually flown a plane before, but you do like, well, I guess that's already, a thing. It's been a thing for a while.
There's flight
so-
simulators
You
too.
can get your pilot's license on just simulators.
Oh yeah, you can.
And
Really?
yep, you can be 100% licensed and ready to fly just on a simulator. And
I don't know if you can fly other people, but you can fly by yourself.
exactly.
Like you can't fly commercially. Like you couldn't be a pilot of like
Yeah, you-
Delta.
you can't.
But you could fly by yourself and fly like a Cessna or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but it's all simulated.
Wow.
Because
That's crazy.
the simulators are so accurate.
They are extremely accurate. Like it's insane. Yeah.
That's fucking crazy to think about.
Yeah,
Like,
you know what's going to be crazy
simulating.
too to think about too. Okay, so
I
listen
think
to
about
this.
the future of work through VR as well.
Yeah. Well,
The future of travel. I don't know. It's all crazy. You were talking about like, could VR change the world? The answer is yes, because the internet is changing the world. Technology is changing the world. Like if we look back through history,
Well, will it change? But will it change it like so fundamentally that like the world in 30 years is like so different?
absolutely. I think technology
Yeah.
itself, like the idea of computing and computers, but computers plus internet, fucking game over.
Well,
dude.
that's the crazy thing about
That's
like
more powerful than agricultural revolution. That's more powerful than industrial revolution. That's more powerful than language, I think.
Yeah.
I literally think when we're dead and in 100,000 years, historians look back at moments in history, they're going to be like the internet. Like that's what changed
Yeah.
everything. Like
Well,
series of tubes, 1999, the internet. Like they're literally,
Totally.
they're going to go back
And
and be like,
I even
that's
think
the
about-
moment. That's the time.
I even think about like how, like for example, there's certain times in your life where you look back and you feel like that was a line in the sand.
like a pinnacle.
I think about life before and life after. Honestly, like I think about it, I'm like, this might be one of those things where I think about like as far as me relating to certain memories, I might think like, oh, that was before I got the quest, or that was after I got the quest. Like as far as literally like a moment in time, like I think about it the first time I did like psychedelic drugs or something, like time before I knew that experience and time after. Because now everything in the real world, I'm gonna somehow like have a weird relation with like VR, like, oh, that'd be crazy in VR, or like, you know what I mean, or like, oh man, I wish I could do this, but I need to do it in VR, or something like that. But I think also the one thing that VR cannot emulate yet is the element of real human like interaction. Like, so for example, I was watching the Tomorrowland stream in VR from last year, not the Tomorrowland stream, but like just Tomorrowland videos. And I was like, I feel like I'm here. But the one thing that I didn't like, and that I'm like, I can't just experience it through this, I gotta go to Tomorrowland, is being able to turn to the next person next to me and lock eyes and smile. And overhear their conversation and maybe say something, or see a cute girl.
But what if
see a cute girl and have those like butterfly feelings and like maybe talk to her?
But what if everyone was in VR and you could, and you had avatars?
But exactly, that's the thing, is when you're in VR, you've got something covering your face. So like even if you had a camera on you, it'd be weird. You'd have to have an avatar. But the thing about it is like, I don't know.
Would they bid there? Avatar, the last memory bender.
But maybe we
the
won't
last
even
memory bender.
But maybe we'll get to a point where we don't even value physical attraction. Maybe like your avatar being attractive is like what you would get attracted to.
I mean,
like,
who fucking knows, bro?
Because I think about it with like
too much
with like body shaming and stuff like that. Do you think it'll reach? I feel like the people that will be last to like adopt VR are the people that do like mud runs and like CrossFit and stuff, because they're like super analog and like, yeah, lifting fucking heavy shit. And like a lot of like the people that are traditionally in like video games and stuff will be the early adopters of VR, and then eventually it'll like converge somewhere.
All right. Hope you enjoyed that clip. If you'd like to see the full episode, click right here. If you'd like to subscribe, click here. If you'd like more clips, we got 2 more right over here.